This week on Vaticano, explores Singapore's vibrant faith community with its Cardinal as we anticipate the Holy Father's upcoming visit to Southeast Asia. Witness a Cardinal and a Rabbi unite in an interfaith peace initiative. Plus, discover the enduring legacy of Africa's iconic White Fathers and their missionary vision. For this and more, Vaticano starts now.
We shared our stories. We shared our experiences. Different experiences, different stories. And with that sharing the stories, we learn lessons. Lesson means church is still alive. Church is not dead. Even though world is in crisis, even though some part of the church is in crisis, but church is alive.
Good morning. 5 months before the opening of the Synod 2024, 200 parish priests from around the world gathered in Sacrofano, outside of Rome, for a 5-day international meeting dedicated to the question of how to be a local synodal church on mission. The meeting came in response to the desire expressed by the Synod Fathers in October of last year to, quote, develop ways for a more active involvement of deacons, priests, and bishops in the synodal process. The United States was represented by 5 priests, including Father Clinton Ressler from the Archdiocese of Galveston-Houston.
The feeling of being, getting to know other priests and their realities and seeing how much we have in common with all the diverse kinds of situations there are, and yet probably that experience of being a priest on the front lines in the trenches is kind of a universal experience. The joy, the sorrow, the hope, but it's that experience of being together with other pastors.
Organized by the General Secretariat of the Synod and the Dicastery for the Clergy, the meeting featured 5 days of discussions, prayer, and discernment.
Partecipanti ma per tutti I parroci. È stata pubblicata.
Speaking to EWTN News, Father Luis Marin de San Martin, Undersecretary of the General Secretariat of the Synod of Bishops, emphasized the importance of parish priests in this synodal journey.
Synodality, like any reform process, starts from the bottom. It is an authentic process that seeks a coherent church united to Christ, experiencing Christ. This is an experience of communion, and it brings Christ into the midst of the world through evangelization.
At the end of the meeting, the participants met with Pope Francis, who sent a letter to all the parish priests attending the international gathering, inviting them to be missionaries of synodality amongst themselves, but also with their fellow parish priests back home.
What was very comforting is that he listened to many questions of parish priests in the assembly, and he answered to them like a parish priest. So with the wisdom and the love for the people, as have a parish priest. And so that feeling of to recognize each other in this mission or this standing in the church was already comforting.
The outcomes of the meeting will contribute to the draft of the Instrumentum Laboris, the working document for the second session of the Synodal Assembly, which will take place in Rome in October of 2024. The St. Pio Foundation marked its 10th anniversary by making available to the world 10 newly released pictures of Padre Pio in an event at the Vatican. The foundation's founder, Luciano La Monarca, says he wants the photographs to spread right across the globe.
To make this gift available to the world. Everybody in the world, especially in the United States of America, visiting www.therealstpio.org will have access to this picture, high quality, free of charge.
Among the speakers at the event was Elia Steluto from San Giovanni Rotondo, the town where Padre Pio lived. Elia was only a boy when he started taking pictures of Padre Pio. the mysterious monk who spent more than 50 years in the Capuchin monastery there. Over the years, Elia took some of the most iconic pictures there are of Saint Padre Pio.
It's always emotional because I get to see Padre Pio in all places, like here in the Vatican. In fact, every time I'm out on the street and I look up, I see a picture I took of Padre Pio. It's a source of great emotion and joy for me.
Hello and welcome to this week's Vaticano Updates, the news around Pope Francis and the Vatican. For the first time, the Vatican will build a papal hospital outside Italy. Near the Egyptian capital Cairo, the construction work is to begin by the end of the year on a children's hospital, which will bear the name Bambino Gesù, like the papal hospital in Rome. Both hospitals made a cooperation agreement to help each other with scientific expertise. A priest armed with several weapons and dressed in a cassock tried to enter St. Peter's Square in the Vatican to participate in the Regina Coeli prayer with Pope Francis. The priest, who is from the Czech Republic, tried to pass through the metal detector carrying an air pistol, 2 knives, a cutter and a screwdriver. When questioned, the priest said he carried the weapons for personal defense. The Archdiocese of Naples in Italy reported that on May the 4th, the miracle of the liquefaction of the blood of St. Gennarius occurred once again. St. Gennarius was a bishop martyr and is patron saint of Naples. The miraculous liquefaction occurred during the Mass offered by the Archbishop of Naples, Domenico Battaglia. Pope Francis's prayers intention for the month of May is for the formation of men and women religious and for seminarians. In his video message, the pontiff said that every vocation is a diamond in the rough that needs to be polished. The Holy Father also points out that the formation does not end at a certain moment, but continues throughout life. Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez, the prefect of the Dicastery for the Doctrine of Faith, will unveil new norms for discernment regarding apparitions and other supernatural phenomena and provide clear guidelines. According to the norms approved by Pope Paul VI in 1978, it is the Church's responsibility to first judge the facts before permitting public devotion in the case of an alleged apparition. Thank you for watching this week's Vaticano Updates. Andreas Tonhauser for EWTN Vaticano.
After a short break, we'll introduce you to the Cardinal of Singapore, ahead of Pope Francis's upcoming trip to Southeast Asia, here on Vaticano. Pope Francis will embark on a historic journey to Southeast Asia this September, with stops planned in Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, East Timor, and the culturally rich island nation of Singapore. Singapore, known for its vibrant mix of cultures and religions, is a melting pot of diversity, home to approximately 395,000 Catholics. At the helm of the Catholic Church in Singapore stands Cardinal William Goh, appointed Archbishop in 2013 and elevated to the rank of Cardinal in 2022.
Your Eminence, I'm so grateful for your time.
In an exclusive interview with EWTN News, Cardinal Goh shares insights into Pope Francis's upcoming visit, the dynamics of the College of Cardinals, and the challenges facing the Church in Asia.
What's the experience been like to be a member of the College with all of the responsibilities, but that particular relationship with the Diocese of Rome?
Well, certainly as a cardinal, we have a greater responsibility to the Universal Church. But so far, I've just attended only 2 consistory and 1 meeting, because I belong to I'm a member of the Dicastery for Family and Life. That is the connection so far. So I think to be chosen as a cardinal, and I think what the Pope Francis has been doing. I mean, it's a good idea. I mean, it's really helpful to, well, the church to be inclusive, to be universal. We have cardinals from all over the world, but I think the difficulty, the challenge would be getting the cardinals together to know each other well, especially when the time comes for the voting of the Pope for the conclave. That would be necessary. But presently, I think most of us do not know each other, and not all speak Italian as well. So I think that area of rapport among the cardinals would be necessary for greater communion.
What are your hopes for Francis's visit?
Pope Francis is always popular with many of our Catholics, and I think he is a beacon of hope, beacon of mercy and compassion. That is his forte, really, to try to continue the work of Pope St. John Paul II, Pope Benedict.
So he's embarked, and we're reaching the conclusion of this long process of synodality. I know that you attended the Synod of Bishops last October. What was that experience like?
What I like about that synod was the retreat and the small group sharing, the group sharing. Because in that group sharing, we truly were able to journey with each other, listen to each other without judgment, and accompany each other. Especially when we are among bishops, it's much easier because we understand our own struggles and difficulties and challenges and also aspiration. That's a good thing about the Synod. And I think that is the way, not just for the universal church, but also for the particular church, local church, that we need to listen, to journey with each other. I think that is very helpful, so that there will be a greater understanding and communion between the clergy and the laity, so that we walk as one, so that we will truly be coming together as one church.
Now, you've been conducting synodal sessions in the months after the first of the Synod of Bishops last year, the Synod on Synodality. What has that experience been like for you to meet with the faithful?
Our faithful, but then again, you know, it's just like the Synod. How many were there present? You know, we talk about universal church is 1 billion. How many were present? So it's same for local church. So we have about 600 people who came for the plenary assembly. I think those who have participated found it very enriching. So I think that journeying is of extreme importance. And so now what we are trying to do is we want to get the priest, the clergy, first and foremost to journey together. They also must learn the synodal process. I think the process is important. The destination is another question, but I think the process must first begin.
You mentioned the process of synodality and the destination. What is your hope for the destination?
That we be one church, and that our lay people and the priests will work together as one. And they are, I believe, and I think it's also important, which Pope Francis has mentioned, that, and Pope Benedict, that the work of mission is obligation of every Catholic. It is not just the work of priests alone. Everybody has a responsibility, a differentiated responsibility, but everybody is responsible. So the vision of this archdiocese is to build a vibrant, evangelizing, and missionary church. That is our vision. And so this synodal process will help to engage our lay people and to help our priests and the laity to work together for the same common vision.
Yeah. The church here, like the church everywhere, is facing pressures from secularism, relativism. You've spoken about the importance of defending what I think you use the phrase truth and justice. What does that mean?
It's important for us that in the face of these secularism, all the isms, individualisms and so on, I think the church has to be truthful in what we proclaimed. I do not believe that we should make the gospel message or dilute the gospel message. The truth has to be spoken because the truth sets us free. But we, of course, truth has to be spoken with charity. That is very important. But I don't believe that we should try to compromise the gospel, and that is my fear, that today even church leaders are compromising the gospel.
Well, Your Eminence, I'm so grateful for your time, and I'm looking forward to further coverage, especially with Pope Francis's visit, and to see what happens here in the church in Singapore.
Thank you.
Religions should try to help people going beyond the appearances, visual power or status in society, and remember that what we really are is what God sees and what our conscience, our inner conscience knows.
Cardinal Raniero Cantalamessa, the preacher of the papal household, recently engaged in a profound theological discussion with Rabbi Alan Goshen at Rome's historic Roman synagogue. Rarely giving interviews, the Cardinal emphasized his deep commitment to interreligious dialogue and friendship to the rabbi. This meeting underscores the significant strides in the relationship between Judaism and Catholicism since the promulgation of Nostra Aetate in 1965.
So interreligious relations are a spiritual path. It's a path of spirituality.
Yes. Because all the religions have in common this, to help people to be in relation with some reality beyond. We call it differently, but it is important to remember people that we have a destiny. We have a mission in the world and a destiny.
Rabbi Alan Goshen leads the Elijah Interfaith Institute, which is dedicated to fostering friendship and dialogue between religions. A key initiative of this organization is the Global House of Friendship and Hope in Assisi. This project aims to create a shared space for study and dialogue, and a museum, and it has received endorsement from Cardinal Cantalamessa as well as from the Pope himself.
So what would you wish for the success of this project?
The blessing of the Lord, because as the psalm says, unless the Lord builds a house, in vain built their builders. We should remember that.
The figure of St. Francis serves as the inspiration for this initiative, which is why the center is being constructed in the very heart of Assisi, the city of St. Francis.
In what way can St. Francis be inspiring to people of other religions?
One thing that strikes in Francis of Assisi is the fact that he is spoken against nobody. He applied a maxim coming from the fathers of the church: don't speak against anybody. Speak in favor of truth, not against others. Well, St. Francis applied this perfectly.
For meaningful dialogue to yield fruitful results, it must be conducted openly and honestly, without concealing one's own identity, as highlighted in the Vatican's Nostra Aetate.
I'd like to ask you to reflect on how both of these go back to the legacy of St. John Paul II in his Assisi convenings, and then the following convenings that came after that. To what extent would you say that he laid the foundation for the friendship and the prayer as common ground between religions?
The second item is the more difficult, because precisely in the meetings of Assisi, it was apparent how difficult it is unless we reduce prayer, we understand prayer, being together under the look of some higher power. It's difficult to share words or texts.
Not to share, but to be inspired by the prayer of the other. I pray my prayer, you pray your prayer, but when I see the depth of sincerity that you have, that inspires me.
Although the State of Israel was established in 1948, it wasn't until 1993 that the Holy See formally recognized Israel, marking a pivotal moment in the historically complex relationship between Jews and Catholics. In just a few moments on Vaticano, we'll meet the Missionaries of Africa and explore their historic efforts to share the gospel to the ends of the earth. Founded in 1868 by Cardinal Charles Lavigerie, the Archbishop of Algiers and Carthage, the Society of the Missionaries of Africa aimed to evangelize Africa's people. Cardinal Lavigerie introduced a white habit for the Society's members, modeled after traditional North African attire, consisting of a white gown and hooded cloak, accompanied by a neck-worn rosary to signify their dedication to prayer.
Historically, we are known, our missionary society is known to be the society that brought the Catholic faith in many African countries. And so we are known to go to places where the faith is not yet known.
The future of the Catholic Church, it's often said, is in Africa, where vocations are flourishing. Parish life is vibrant, and the total number of Catholics is poised to soon surpass Europe. Mass attendance, a key indicator of religious commitment, is considerably higher in African countries than the world average. Africa has long been recognized as a pivotal part of Catholicism's future. Home to fewer than 1 million Catholics in 1910, the Catholic population of Africa is now 265 million. The Missionaries of Africa have played a fundamental role in planting the seeds of faith in the heart of the continent. Pope Francis has continued to show particular pastoral attention to the continent. On his historic papal trip to the Democratic Republic of Congo, Pope Francis made an impassioned plea on behalf of Africa.
May Africa be the protagonist of its destiny.
Our confreres, our forefathers in the mission, have been doing a lot of primary evangelization. So they set up Christian communities and built churches. We are initiators. Once they set up the local church and set up a local clergy, then they would move to another place.
When the Missionaries of Africa were founded in 1868, the mother house was in Algeria. After Algerian independence, the mother house was moved to Rome. EWTN visited the missionaries to learn of their hopes for Africa and what they see are the biggest challenges to evangelizing the continent.
Well, I hope that the church becomes, continues to develop, becomes independent, autonomous, able to present its own contributions in the development of the liturgy, in the understanding of the Bible, rather than just having to follow what has been taught them.
Father Luigi has been a priest with the Missionaries of Africa since 1971. He has worked in Mozambique, Kenya, and South Africa. He sees the educational outreach of the White Fathers as fundamental to their evangelization.
We always insisted that education, reading, writing, and knowing this was important, not only for the fact that the Bible is a book and people need to read it, and not just to learn it by heart, but also because these aspects make the people, the person develop into a human being, able to communicate with all the faculties that are at hand.
Father Salvatore, originally from Mexico, has served as a priest in the Missionary Society for 25 years. During his mission to the eastern region of the Democratic Republic of Congo, he regularly faced security challenges.
I think that the biggest challenges I had to face during all these years in Congo were life itself, and even more so, I would say, survival. How to live out the gospel in a situation of insecurity and ongoing violence, which is quite difficult. How to help people live their faith maturely, but in situations where the life they live is not respected.
Looking to the future, the Superior General of the Missionaries of Africa, Father Stanley, is optimistic about the Church's prospects in Africa, despite the unique challenges it faces.
There are two huge challenges. As I said, we most of the time go to remote areas. There is the challenge of poverty. Most of the places where we go, the governments have not yet reached there. The second one, which is really very new on the continent, even if it has been there, is the question of insecurity. So you really have to think twice before you can go to places. For me, those are two challenges.
In 2019, the Missionaries of Africa marked the 150th anniversary of their founding. On this momentous occasion, Pope Francis met with them, referring to them as nomads of the gospel.